And look who it is. Look who decided to show up.
Oh, coming in from the Outer Rim Sieges.
May 4th, dude, and let's the Bible. Well, first of all, I was 5 years old when Star Wars came out. I actually had waited for proofs of purchase of the original figures and had to wait 3 weeks in anticipation when we were 5.
Nice.
And when I got this book, I thought I knew everything about Star Wars, and then I read this book and said, "Whoa."
I got a question for you. Do you remember actually being in the theater the first time?
Yeah.
Like, my parents brought me to see A New Hope / The Star Wars or whatever it was called first, but I was too little to remember. You actually remember being there?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was 5. I mean, I definitely remember Empire Strikes Back was like a acme of my life, you know, in my childhood. But no, I remember I was living in Sioux City, Iowa when I was 5, and
nice.
I remember the theater and going in there, and like, you know how Stephen Colbert says in The Building of an Empire, Star Wars changed my life overnight.
Yeah.
I'm like, I get that.
And he saw it 2 weeks before everybody else. Do you know that story with Stephen Colbert?
No.
Well, he got to see it on like a friend of his mom got tickets like 2 weeks beforehand. So he's like, I was a Star Wars fan 2 weeks before anybody else on the entire planet.
Well,
that's like Stephen Colbert's
what's
thing.
funny is you mentioned in that the foreword by Peter Jackson is amazing in this book too. But what's really cool is he's, you know, of course, from New Zealand, so he heard about the phenomenon way before it, you know, hit New Zealand, and he actually got to see the film.
Oh wow!
So I mean, he was subscribing to all these fanzines and stuff, so he had heard about. So there was a major build-up for him, and it's pretty cool how he covers that in the foreword.
Well, if we're on that, I got to tell my story real quick too.
I mean, go for it, man.
I didn't think I actually remembered being in the theater because my mom took me when I was like 2 years old, and I had, you know, I kind of had like little recollections and stuff like that, but they weren't like full-fledged memories or anything. And then I went and saw the original re-showing in '97 when they did the 20th anniversary, right before the release of Phantom Menace. You know, a couple of years later. But I went and saw Star Wars the original in the theater, and I started having these emotional flashbacks. It wasn't like full-on like visual memories. It was just like these more emotional kind of strange feelings they hit, and especially like when that little droid goes in to the detention center.
Oh, the
Vader's like,
needle?
yeah, with the needle, and Vader's like, and now we'll discuss the location of your secret base, and it does the zoom in on the needle.
Yeah.
Dude, that thing like gave me chills. I was like, holy shit, I'm 2 years old again. Ah!
No, I mean,
That was
at 5 years old, I remember
pretty intense.
Vader coming on the screen and just being
Terrified?
blown away. Best all-time villain cinema, period.
Yeah.
There's also the Kurgans up there too.
I just
The original Kurgan.
my deepest memory is like I remember actually having the original soundtrack on vinyl. Of course, this is the biggest memory I have, and lying down in the front room, you know, with our giant record players, because we had giant record players in the 70s and 80s, and I just remember loving that thing and listening to it over and over again. It was just the soundtrack to A New Hope, and I wish I still had the thing, man. Oh my gosh!
Did that stereo have an 8-track too?
Actually, it didn't.
Oh.
But surprisingly, it had tapes, but it didn't have a tape.
We'll do another podcast for that, Ben, because I do have the vinyl.
You do actually have the vinyl still?
I actually have the vinyl that my mother gave me from, so it's an original. It's original pressing.
It's like
I remember that, Aaron. You had there was a big race to see, you know, what's better, VHS, Laserdisc, or Beta?
Right. What about you, Alex?
My earliest
tell us.
Star Wars
Yeah, man.
memory.
Yeah,
well,
you
I'm
really
not an
smart.
old dog. I'm like 10 years
I know,
younger than
that's
all
why
these
you're bringing
fools.
this
It's just like,
refreshing outlook.
well, I remember seeing it in the re-release or the what you were talking
97?
about.
Special
Yeah,
edition?
before the Phantom Menace. Even though, yeah, I remember those. I remember playing with the toys. I just remember watching it at home a lot. Like, just like, I don't know. I kind of grew up in the religious household
So how
before
old
I
were
was.
you when you
So you
first
grew
saw
up
it, though?
well.
I don't remember the
had
first
good
time.
parents.
It's just like always been there.
Ah.
But the movie, but seeing it in the movie theater definitely like is in my head, and I was young when that happened. You know, like I remember seeing all of them, and then the Phantom Menace, and I've seen them all since they've come out in the theater. That's why it's like
What year were you born?
91. That's why it's so
So
hard
you're
for me to boycott
6.
Solo. Like I get it, and I get the whole Disney thing, but it's like, oh,
Seeing that,
it's
you know,
breaking a pretty hard
Yeah, it's hardcore.
I
tradition.
mean, and that's one thing that I enjoy about you guys being on the shows because you got different aspects, and I like Alex's younger aspect. But being that me and you, Ben, are
Yeah.
you know, in our 40s and we kind of old school fans, I think the difference between you and I is that me being a little bit older, but you and I see it. I was just as much of a fan of Star Wars, but you delved into the books and you ate everything up, anything you could get your hands on. I totally see that.
Yeah.
But I was that fan that was like, I read Splinter of a Mind's Eye, and but it wasn't on the screen. And if I didn't have a guarantee that was going to make it onto the screen, then I kind of didn't want to get my hopes up for it. So I kind of avoided most of the books and stuff like that, because.
So how did you hear about Splinter of a Mind's Eye? Like that in and of itself, I mean, I've only heard about that I think I heard about that like 5 years ago. I didn't even know that this thing existed.
There was the first few books that I remember that, and Han Solo at Star's End, or Star's Revenge, one of the two.
Was that after or before
This was
the film before Empire Strikes Back came out? That's what I'm wondering, because that was Plan B for anybody who doesn't know that. That was Plan B for in case the Star Wars A New Hope did not do well. That was the contingency was Splinter of a Mind's Eye, and that was like just in case Lucas is like making Plan B just in case they don't get this,
Right.
in case people don't like this thing, we're gonna put out this book and this is the continuation. And it was like Luke and Leia, and they weren't brother and sister. They were just like maybe lovers, maybe friends, whatever. It was just they were trying to figure stuff out, and it was like this weird. If you ever get a chance and want to laugh,
Yeah, it's
check out. It's funny as hell.
Maybe
actually,
in fact that's why I was kind of thrown off the whole indulging in the reading in the canon that went along with it after. Is not only that, it was like I read everything too, but it was like, if I don't see it on screen and it's not Lucas, I don't want to get wrapped up in it. You
You're
know
a
what I'm saying?
purist, Jeremy, is what you're saying. You're Star Wars purist.
Somewhat, because,
Actually, I was just going to mention that's the going title of episode 9 right now. Maybe lovers, maybe friends. We'll see who makes it in the end.
Oh my god.
it could be in the
Maybe
scroll, but it's kind of a
maybe
long
wrong.
title.
There's so much poetry in everything that was just said.
Right.
So-
No. I was kind of on that kick too. I actually delved into Splinter of Mind's Eye, but I don't actually remember it. I read it so
Yeah.
young. It's a very
Exactly,
long
I
time
didn't
ago.
retain it.
And then I actually dove from those early books straight into the comics. Like as soon as Dark Horse came out,
I did
loving the
pick up
comics.
some comics.
Because I love the visual aspect of Star Wars. I mean, I think that was a huge thing for me. Is just
Exactly.
the special effects. What you saw on the screen was so revolutionary at the time, and had such a huge impact on
Well,
me.
I mean-
that like going over to the comics was just a natural transition. Like seeing that, just the way that artists were interpreting, everything to come.
Well, being that young when it came out, what I loved about it was it revolutionized filmmaking in every aspect, especially special effects. Because before that, you got to see that we had 2001: A Space Odyssey and Zardoz, and science fiction was boring. It was just totally boring.
Flash Gordon, forget that one.
Well, I mean, Flash Gordon, that was a little bit more exciting, but you're talking the 40s when Buster Crabbe was there, and what they did with that was incredible, and that's what inspired. You mentioned it the last time is that Lucas originally wanted to make Flash Gordon.
Yeah, you want to make a cereal.
Yeah. And that was the thing. And I've said this many times before. I'll say it one more time. Would have been really cool to see what George Lucas would do with Flash Gordon. As a matter of fact, I would love to see what George Lucas would do with especially with what we have now. Oh my gosh, let's make that happen. I would go crazy if George Lucas actually does. Oh my goodness, Flash Gordon! Holy cow!
What is it? The De Laurentiis that made the Flash Gordon, the '80s Flash Gordon with Sam J. Jones and Max von Sydow.
Yeah.
I mean.
I loved it.
But as far as production goes,
70s though, right?
So amazing.
Really
late
80s?
70s. I think it was 79.
Okay.
Yeah. It was right
I want to see, or 1980, one of the two. But I loved it.
Still the 70s.
But that's the thing is, the only thing that sucked about that film was Sam J. Jones as Flash Gordon.
Yeah.